happy New Year.
Yeah. Happy.
At least we're not singing.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
You're listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, where HIPAA and humor collide to make learning fun. Your delightful hosts are Donna Grindle and David Sims. Relax. HIPAA help is on the way.
Welcome to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast. My name is David Sims from HIPAA for MSPs, and joining me, as always, is Donna Grindle from Cardin Compliance. How's it going today, Donna?
Oh, I guess it's okay.
Yes, it's okay.
Just messing with you. I'm my normal cheery self.
So, as we're recording this, we're right on the cusp of Christmas. So you kind of got everything ready?
No.
It should be easy for you.
How's that?
Because you don't have a bunch of kids running around like I do.
I have 7 nieces and nephews.
That don't count.
Oh, yeah. Do you know what it costs to be the favorite aunt?
I got 5 kids.
Yeah.
Not counting the nieces and nephews.
Well, you don't have to be the favorite uncle or the favorite dad.
Yeah, I'm a stepdad, so I can't win.
No, you're the dad and you're the stepdad. You got the Brady Bunch thing going on. So
yeah, fun stuff.
Yeah.
Fun stuff. So I guess in sports news, the Carolina Panthers undefeated still playing. Guess who they're playing this weekend?
Wah 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 wah.
They're playing your favorite team.
I'm not even. I'm gonna. Well, just say that. New England didn't think the Eagles could beat them. I'm just saying.
I know.
It could happen.
So I'm assuming if the Panthers win, you won't be answering any phone calls from me over the weekend.
I will, but be prepared for solid feedback. You'll hear what I usually say when I'm watching my team.
So in today's episode, we're going to dive into some of the things that I hate the most, which are resolutions. Those things that you set in January and you forget by February.
Yeah, I don't make New Year's resolutions on purpose. I just don't need that sense of failure in my year.
So in that vein, we're going to give people some resolutions for 2016. And they're not weight loss, so you don't have to worry about that part. Nothing about taking your life to the next level or any of those other things. We're going to make them a little bit easier, and we're going to deal with things around your compliance program. I know some of you are going, yeah, that's easier. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, and this kind of goes back to our how you eat an elephant one bite at a time episode, where it's just make that resolution, make that commitment. 2016, we always hear people say, especially like in October, and we're talking with prospects about working with us, and they're like, 2016 is going to be my year. 2015 is going to be my year. 2014. And there are literally customers that we've talked to that it's been like 3 years that year is going to be their year. So let's make 2016 actually be the year to move tiny baby steps forward with these simple resolutions.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of people will say that about just business in general, especially in December. They don't want to make decisions about things, and everybody's kind of on vacation anyway. Even when they're working, they're kind of on vacation. They don't.
Well, it's like I told you when we were discussing earlier this week how people can be cranky this time of year because there's just so much going on, and they've got all the presents or whatever they do or whatever they choose to celebrate or do. This time of year is very hectic in your personal life as well as work. And if it's just a little bit longer, and everybody will just be hungover all the time for a couple of weeks. So,
okay.
Not that I will be.
Yeah. So I know you better than that. So we have a few different resolutions that we think are. I think they're easy. I think they're very easy to do. So the good thing about doing these is that I think that the way Donna has them laid out is they're really what I would consider quick and easy wins, which sets you up for success. If you do try to bite off too much, you get overwhelmed and then you quit. So you failed at that task. But when you take and start doing these quick, easy wins. You create a series of successes which propel you to do the harder things later.
Well, that's the hope anyway.
That's the hope anyway. So our first one, and I'll let you expound on them because your bullet points.
Hey, look, I at least got show notes that you would read.
Yeah, these are easy. I like it when it's just 6 sentences. But then I look at them and go, I don't even know what she's talking about.
Yeah, see? Either way, I'm doing the same thing.
So your first resolution for 2016 is 1 hour per week. And I'll let you expand on that.
Well, it's a simple approach that says, okay, if I'm not getting anywhere with my HIPAA compliance program, let me just commit that I'm going to spend 1 hour a week doing something, whether it's making a phone call or reading a business associate agreement or checking up on a policy or something, but have 1 hour a week that you are dedicating to at least thinking about it, even if that's all you do is think about it.
I wouldn't give them that out.
But it's an hour that you put on your regular plan. So one of the things that we often teach people to do is say, okay, well, it's Compliance Tuesday or Compliance Monday. No, don't make it Monday. It's already bad enough.
Yeah.
But, Compliance Thursday. What day works for you? And you set a time. And for some people, they want to make it at 7 o'clock in the morning. And other people will make it at 7 o'clock at night. It doesn't matter, but put it on your calendar, make it part of your weekly plan of what you're going to do. I'm going to do something for 1 hour every week. And anything I do, just by devoting 1 hour every week to thinking about it in some manner, will be progress so that 2016 can be your year. Because if you just keep putting it off, it won't be. And certainly that's a tiny little bite, and pretty much anybody could come up with 1 hour per week.
Yep. And I think the key to it, just like what you said, is to put it on your calendar. Treat it like you would treat any other appointment or schedule or whatever. Don't just say, oh, yeah, I'll find an hour sometime this week to do it. You're not going to do it.
Oh, yeah. It's what we have to do with this podcast. The only way it happens is it's Podcast Fridays. It's what we're going to do. And occasionally we have to go outside of that plan, but nonetheless, it's our regular commitment, and it's the only way it gets done because all the other things you and I want to work on, it's not on the calendar and we're not getting them done. Mm-hmm. So same thing.
Yep. Put it on the calendar, schedule it in, make it happen. That's just.
Yeah. All of these things really have to go on the calendar.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Make an appointment with yourself.
Make an appointment with yourself.
Yes.
Is it like that? Was it Ray Stevens or have a little talk with yourself?
Yeah. Yes.
Showing my age.
I love Ray Stevens.
So the next one is 1 afternoon per quarter.
Yes. So it's the same concept. And if I can only get in the 1 hour per week, I'm going to also make a commitment to do 1 afternoon per quarter. So I'm saying I'm going to, in my 1 little hour snippets, maybe develop a plan so that I can spend a half a day, and maybe yours is the morning, one morning or one afternoon, but a half a day per quarter accomplishing something. So in your weekly planning, you put together that I'm going to complete this thing that I need done in that one afternoon or half a day per quarter. Mm-hmm. So that's the only way to actually get a big thing off the list. And then now you feel so good.
Go have a drink afterwards. So how do you typically, when you're working toward the bigger goals, how do you typically do it? I'll tell you how I do it. I usually take the big goal and kind of reverse engineer it and then move toward it, if that makes sense. So I take what I'm looking to get done, then I map out the steps it takes to get there, kind of go backwards and then start working back forward, if that makes sense.
Oh, it totally makes sense. And it's one of those things that I speak with individuals who shall not be named that are near and dear to me about, you can't just start working. You have to say, well, where do I want to get? Now, how do I get there? I got to look at what resources do I need? What information do I need? How do I want it to look when I get there? And make a reverse engineering approach. And that's exactly the same thing that I do is if I were starting with this, I would say, okay, my first week on my compliance Wednesday, my hour is going to be evaluating, what's my high priority item. Pull out that risk analysis that I know you have. Pull out that risk management plan and see what your high priority items are. And do you make progress on one of those things? So identify that one thing and make progress on it, and then maybe find some low-hanging fruit, some quick, easy things that you can do, because there's always those.
Yeah. I think for me, I would probably start with the actual afternoon per quarter. That would be my first one, and then use that to develop a plan of what I'm going to do for the 1 hour times until the next quarter. That's probably how I would do it.
Well, I know people that would need to take this approach. So my first 2 weeks, I would spend my 1 hour finding all my crap. So some of it's going to be on the left front corner of my desk. Some of it's going to be here, there, and everywhere. Unless you're using
under the desk.
Yeah. Unless you're using the tools. If you're using the tools, then you could sit down with the tool because everything's going to be in one place.
Yeah. And we talked about that in a past podcast about project management tools and compliance tools. So we can refer to that in our show notes on the page.
Yeah, because that's the Comply Assistance discussion and many other things that we've talked about. But we use Comply Assistant, and often with our clients who are on it, they're not getting their stuff in there. So maybe their 1 hour is to go gather all the things that I haven't put in there and make sure I have them in there. I did a new policy, but I never actually updated all of my information to document that I did the policy, for example. So sometimes I got to gather my information before I can sit down and do my 1 hour of planning. But you can take that approach, and between the two, it's going to make you have activity.
Right. And since you mentioned the policy, that kind of brings us to our next one, which is to create some type of policy or an associated procedure once per month.
Yeah. So whether you're reviewing one that you have, because you should be reviewing these to make sure of three things. When you review a policy, you want to make sure it covers all the things it's supposed to cover. So all your policies should be reflecting what part of the law it applies to, or to say, hey, we're going above and beyond the law, but it should tell you what it's applying to as far as why you're doing it. You want to make sure that you know that, and then you want to make sure that it meets those, requirements that the law says. So then the second piece is, does it need to be changed? Has our business changed in any way? Our operations changed in any way, so that we need to be able to adjust how we're going to get that policy done.
Right.
And then the third thing is, do I know how I'm actually are we doing it?
Right. Now, so is this in conjunction with or in addition to the 1 hour per week?
So this would be what you would actually do in your 1 hour or your quarter is maybe, you dedicate the month to looking at your policy on passwords and those kind of things. So the remaining resolutions are what I'm going to do with my commitment to spend time on compliance. I need to make sure I'm doing these things. So reviewing your policies and procedures, since you're supposed to review them on a regular basis, if you pick one a month and review it, you're making progress.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, in conjunction with, not in addition to.
Okay. That makes me feel better.
Because you were stressing out about how much time.
I'm getting overwhelmed already. It's too much. It's too much.
Yeah. So everything else, so our 1 hour and one afternoon, that's how to go about doing these things. And then here's some commitments to yourself and your compliance program to actually fill that time that you're going to allocate for it.
Okay, so this next one's going to stress me out just saying it. Do one audit per month.
Now, why does that stress you out? What does audit mean to you?
That's just it. It just depends on what audit means. I think of audit, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to get everything out and go through everything from top to bottom, front to back.
No. Audit just says, okay, on my policy and procedure that I just reviewed, okay, to say we have it, it meets what the law says, it doesn't need any updates. We say this is what we're going to do, and we lay out how we're going to do it. Your audit is the second piece to that says, well, are we actually doing it? Let me go see if we're actually doing it. Can I prove that we're doing what this procedure says we're going to do? Mm-hmm. That's it. Okay. So can I create some documentation? One of the simplest things that I tell people to do, and it's easy, and often people don't realize it's that easy. So, typically the compliance officer is also the office manager or some level of management in the company. And that usually means you're there when others aren't. At least that's my experience. Don't know about you, David. But when your policy says, for example, in a practice, the policy says we're not going to leave any charts open, any papers laying on the desk. We're going to empty our shredding, whatever your policy might be for that one thing of how you close up shop when you leave to prevent incidental disclosures from, say, the janitor. Okay. Mm-hmm. But go walk around the office real quick and check and see if that's the way, did everybody do that tonight? Well, they did. Then make note that I just did an audit of that procedure. I just checked out that procedure. I made some notes of on this day at this time, I went around the whole office. I checked this area, this area, this area. Everybody had done what they were supposed to do. Mm-hmm. That's it. You've done an audit.
Okay.
So it can be the big ones, don't get me wrong, but you can make it small.
So you just do a bunch of mini audits.
Yeah. So they kind of all go together. So if I'm going to spend 1 hour and one afternoon to do things, I'm going to pick one policy per month, which would give me 3 per quarter. I'm going to determine that I've got the right policies and procedures. And then I'm also going to audit that the procedure is actually taking place.
Okay. So far, everything's still doable. I'm with you.
You're not running off yet.
I'm still with you. So the next one is to do regular training for the staff, such as like a lunch and learn, using our podcast would be a good tool.
Yeah, we had somebody that mentioned to me that their idea to make sure that their staff gets trained is they're going to pick some podcast and, bring everybody in and play the podcast while they have lunch and then discuss what was in the podcast. Even if you pause it and have a discussion while you're at it. So you're able to get the training in for the staff. You're making them think about it. You don't have to develop the content. It doesn't cost you anything, unless you're buying them lunch. So you get 30 minutes with us or however long it is. And then you have a discussion about it. And now I've gotten some training done, knocked it out. So figure out when you can do that. We preach that you should do training on a regular basis because it's that same old story. I use this over and over, but people get it. If I tell my kid, not that I have one, but most people do, and I know that this would happen for real. If you tell your kid in January, I want you to make the bed every day, and here's how I want you to make the bed. I'm just going to tell you how to make the bed, and I'm not going to check to see if you do it or anything, but how often do you think, if you don't ask them again about it until the next January, how often do you think they're going to make that bed?
I can promise you it won't even get done the day I told them to do it. You're like, oh, I forgot you told me that.
Exactly. So out of sight, out of mind. I'm too busy. That's a classic example. I'm too busy. I woke up late. I had to go.
My kids say, it's too hard.
I know. It takes too much time.
Which is exactly the same thing I hear from clients. Yeah. It's too hard.
I can't do this. So that is a perfect analogy when you think about training your staff and you're like, I don't want to deal with this, or they don't need it, or we got this, or once a year is enough. You go back and you think about how that your bed will not be made, guaranteed.
Yeah, but not doing this can certainly make your bed in a different way.
You make your bed, you lie in it. And we'll say you don't make your bed, you lie in it.
And that brings us to our final 2016 resolution of things that so far we can do, which is regular meetings with the tech team and developing an annual tech plan.
Yeah, so in doing that, we both know that having a annual technology plan, and whether you do that technology plan in January or you do it in July, because we have people that, depending on how their year functions or whatever, but you set that plan and say, this is part of my budget. This is what I'm going to prepare my staff to do. I'm going to know that I'm going to put in 3 new computers, or I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. But if I'm not having a regular discussion about it to make sure those things are on track, and anything that you talk about often, guess what? It goes to the top of the stack.
Mm-hmm.
I told somebody one time, they told me, I talked to so-and-so about doing this a couple of weeks ago and hadn't heard back from him. And I happened to know this individual, and I envisioned his office, and he always had whatever he was working on was at the top of the stack, sitting in the center of his desk. I said, just call him back and say that you want to make sure that he hadn't forgotten about it. And they called me back. I was like, he said, let me put it to the top of my stack, just like you said. Same thing. Put it to the top of the stack of your tech team and you by having that plan.
Mm-hmm. So this is where I can get on a tirade here because
soapbox is yours, David.
Yeah, thank you. Let me stand up on it. Okay. All right, here we go. So my soapbox. When you decide that you need things for your business or practice and you have a tech team available to you, please, for goodness sakes, tell them what you are trying to accomplish before you go try to accomplish it. Because I can't tell you how many times I've had clients that have spent money on laptops or iPads or, you name it, whatever. They've bought things that we've had to go back and spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars upfitting what they just bought because they didn't buy the right thing, or sending back things they bought because it won't do what they thought it would do. Or what I like to say to people a lot is, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Exactly.
So, So my soapbox for today is, please, even if it's, hey, I just need to add a laptop. I just need to add a computer. Running out to your local box store and buying one off the shelf, believe it or not, is a bad idea because it may not work within your network by default. Just give your tech team a call and tell them what you're wanting to accomplish and let them help you with that.
Oh, yeah, because we have people that'll call us up. That's what they want to do. And you know what? All right, fine. I'm going to look at the ad paper for you. I'll check it out, and I'll say, you can get this one, or you can get this one. You go look, get what you want, but it has to be one of these two. Mm-hmm. We'll tell them. But I was just reviewing a case where a client did that. I'm going to get 5 computers, David, 5. I'm not going to tell you about it.
Happens to me a lot.
I'm going to get 5 computers and look at what we saved on these computers. But we're going to need to add a card to each of them. Mm-hmm. And so by the time that they were done, what they had saved by not having this card added up front, which they could have bought, from the vendor to mm-hmm. have everything put together for them, but they could get the card for half the price themselves. Okay, mm-hmm. Fine. So then you go buy the card at half price, so you saved $500. But now I've got to go open those things up and put the cards in and make sure the drivers are there. And people think there's nothing to it. Mm-hmm. And I don't care if you have somebody at home that really knows IT and they don't understand why we're telling you this takes time, because they don't know what you have to do in your environment. And unless they've been working in your environment, or they know exactly what your computers need to have on them, or how your network is configured, or what security you have in place, you don't know that it's going to work. So in mm-hmm. the end, that $500 you save, you spend $1,000. So you spend an extra $500 to save 500. You spend 1,000 to save 500.
Yep. Spend $1 to save a nickel.
Yes, sir.
I had a very similar situation where a client bought a bunch of laptops, and I had to go back in every single one of them and order a Windows Professional upgrade on every one of them.
Right.
And
because they got
had
home.
had they done that before they bought them or bought, different model, they probably would have saved a lot of money. But, not only did they have to buy the software, but then they had to pay us to install it and reconfigure it.
Exactly.
So, yeah, they lost big time. It would have saved them so much money just to pick up the phone and say, we want to buy some new laptops. Send us a couple of options. And, or
even just tell me the top 3 or 4 things I need to make sure it has.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not telling you have to. You can pay me 15 minutes to give you a list of things or a couple of ideas or examples, and you will save from having to pay us 15 hours to fix your failures in understanding the technology that you need.
Get off my soapbox, Donna. There's only room for one of people.
I'm knocking you off, brother.
So, anyway, before we keep on ranting on that, is there anything else you wanted to add to the 2016 resolutions?
No, I think that's enough. I mean, we're trying to keep it simple. We're using the KISS method, and the intent is to go back to teaching you how to eat the elephant of HIPAA compliance. So there's a lot of information that you can soak up in an hour if you're dedicating it every single week. I can almost certain to guarantee that you will be able to make progress on your compliance plan and your compliance program. And not only that, but it won't be that thing that you're waking up in the middle of the night worried about. I don't know what I don't know, because you'll start to feel like you're getting control.
Yeah. So let me recap what we went through. We recommended for the 2016 resolutions 1 hour per week, 1 afternoon per quarter, or morning, either way, morning or afternoon per quarter. Develop or edit or review 1 policy or associated procedure per month. Do 1 mini audit per month of one of those policies or procedures. Set up some type of regular training for the staff. Now, you didn't mention whether that should be weekly or monthly, or I guess that would be kind of whatever, depending on the environment.
Yeah, I mean, in most cases, even if you're way behind on getting your staff trained and your workforce isn't acutely aware of HIPAA, then you should do it monthly. But once you get it to the point that everybody's talking about it all the time, then you could, spread it out 6 weeks, quarterly, whatever. Okay.
And then the last one is to have regular meetings with your tech team. And regular could be, semi-annually or quarterly or annually, I guess depending on how much your environment changes. Your IT vendor should be very, very open to this. They should want it.
Well, yeah, it's part of what we talked about in what you need in a healthcare IT company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if they give you any flack on having a meeting about this, I would look for somebody else.
Well, you don't want to do it just annually, though. I mean, you want to make it part of your. Maybe it's one of the things that you do in one of your quarterly half days is to meet with your tech team.
Yeah, and with technology the way it is, I mean, it doesn't even require a physical visit. You just, you can get on a call or you can get on a GoToMeeting or something similar to that. If you need to share screens, or there's just so many different ways to do it now. So it's really, really convenient to have a quick meeting without it being an inconvenience to anybody.
Indeed.
Very good. So that was our show for today, and we'd like to thank you all for listening. And as always, we invite you to go over to iTunes and review our show. Give us a 5-star review. It helps others to find us, and it lets us know that we're actually getting through some of you thick heads. So,
Happy New Year!
Yeah.
We didn't even say that because we're not in that
right.
spirit yet.
I know, because as we're recording, we're like in Christmas right now.
Hence the discussion about gifts. So, happy New Year!
Yeah, happy.
At least we're not singing.
Oh gosh, yeah. So take a moment and share us out on social media. Some of you have already done that, and we greatly appreciate that. And we've got some fan mail we might even be sharing in the near future. Some of you have sent us some emails talking about your experiences listening to the podcast, and we love that. It's some great stuff that you guys are sending. Some of you have heard things that we've mentioned about things coming up and have said, okay, when? We want to see this stuff you said is coming.
Yeah, we're loving the feedback we get, and we welcome it, and especially when you're telling us funny things you think about the things that we said, because we like humor.
Yeah, we do. So go check out our website at helpmewithhippa.com. You can even leave us a question or comment right there on the homepage, and we might even feature that in a future podcast. But remember, for myself and Donna and 2016 resolutions, HIPAA is not about compliance. It's about patient care.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.